After announcing that I've passed the SQE1 exams and qualified as a solicitor here in the UK as a Nigerian qualified lawyer, I have received tons and tons of questions on my SQE journey, the materials that I used and how I studied, and in fact how I actually passed the exam in one attempt. So in this video, I'm going to be answering those questions that have come up. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Frida and this channel is all about personal growth, life in the UK and study abroad tips. So if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you're new and you've not subscribed, please click on that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you will know whenever I post. Months ago, I announced that I was qualified as a solicitor here in the UK, having passed the SQE1 exams in March. And I've received tons of questions, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And what I want to do today is to answer those questions. And basically, my answer to these questions are personal. They're my experience. They're what I experienced. And the tips that I'm going to give in are the tips that I used for myself. You can decide on which tip you want to use to apply into your own situation, because obviously your situation may be different from my situation. And I believe that there are some tips here that would actually work for you. So make sure to stick to the end of this video. This question that has come up here is, what study material did I use for the SQE exams? Like I mentioned in my previous video, and I'm going to put that video up here somewhere, I mentioned that I used the QLTS school prep, and the QLTS school prep has been in this whole business of providing for the SQE and also for the QLTS when it was the QLTS. I used certain factors to actually choose the course provider that I chose. So you want to make sure that you see that video after this video to get more context on what I'm actually saying. So to answer this question, yes, I use the study provider and I use their materials. Next question here is, how did you create your study plan and what was your daily routine? So basically, when I was preparing for the exam, I was working full-time. I had to plan my reading to work around my schedule, because obviously my work is important, and at the same time I knew I wanted to get that career advancement, so I needed to work around the things. When I started in July, I started reading at least 2 hours a day. So it could be before work or after work. So basically it depends on the day, how the day is going and how, my strength is. If I'm tired, I would either maybe read before or after work. So I did that for like 2 to 3 months until I became, very serious, because as at that time, I knew that the exam was, fast approaching and I needed to, intensify my reading. And what I now did was I read for like 4 to 5 hours every single day. Even if I'm going for work, I actually work from home. So even if I'm working from home, I would either read before, or say I'll split the hours, maybe read 2 hours before work and then 2 hours after work. So that was what I did. And I also made sure that I started my journey on time. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I started this whole journey in July. So I had like up to 6 months to prepare for the exam. So that's what I would actually advise. So if you're writing the exam and you're very busy with work, or your situation, maybe you're married, you have children to cater for and all of that, you need to factor in those things so that you can be realistic in your approach. You can get more time to actually read and prepare for the exam, because I've not seen anybody who has gone to write the exam and say, oh, I wasn't prepared, I did not prepare. Before you even book the exam in October or whenever it opens, you need to ask yourself, am I prepared for this exam? Like, if this exam comes tomorrow, will I be able to write the exam? And I'm not trying to say that you would be fully prepared for the exam, because obviously there are times when, even when you're prepared for an exam, you will still say, I'm not prepared for an exam. I mean, nobody even ever goes to an exam like with that mindset of I'm fully prepared, until when the result comes out and you be like, oh, okay, that means I prepared for this exam, or I did well, something like that. There are times I wanted to move the exam to July. Like at that time I felt like I don't think I'm prepared. But down, like within me, I knew that, I've been practicing for this exam. I knew that I needed to give it a try. I needed to just give it a go, because no matter how I had prepared, if I had, moved the exam to July, I would still come, on that exam day, on that whatever date it will be in July, I might still be saying, oh, I'm not prepared, I'm not prepared. So instead of just falling into that trap of not being prepared, I just tried my best to actually start preparing for the exam much earlier. I think that actually answers my daily routine. And then for my personal plan, what I started with was to at the different subject areas. And if you go to the SRA website, or if you have a course provider, they would actually mention subject areas that are covered under the SQE, and those subject areas are obviously divided into FLK1 and FLK2. So what I did was to start with the FLK1, and in starting with the FLK1, I started with legal system, because I had to start with the foundation, and the foundation was the legal system. Was the legal system in England and Wales. And I could remember that when I was in my first year in the university in Nigeria, we actually did something on legal method, and then in my second year I did legal system. So I was just taking it step by step from that, foundation. So from there I went to tort, contract, just climbing the ladder, just like the way I was taught in the university. So basically, that was how I did it. For the FLK2, I just went through the topics that were very interesting to me at first. The topics that I knew I could finish like within a few days, and be able to revise them, be able to do some mocks on them. That's how I was able to sort out my reading plan. And if you're using a course provider that gives or prepared study plan, then you may actually have the luxury of having your plan already prepared for you, which you may want to work with. So the next question here is, did I join a study group, and how, if I did not join the study group, how did I stay motivated? Having like-minded people is actually a good thing, especially when you're writing the SQE or any exam with this kind of intensity. But for me, I never studied in a group, and like I mentioned in my previous video, I'm more of a loner when it comes to studying. I like studying alone and revising alone, basically. Even times when I tried in the university to revise in a group, I still felt like I hadn't done anything. What I would do then was to still go back to my books and do my personal revisions. It's still good if you're someone that would like to read in a group. It's still a nice thing. Maybe what you need to do is to find like-minded people. If you'd like to jump on a call with me, there's a link in the description where we can have a chat. So let me know if you're interested, and I'm going to see you on that call. Okay. The next thing I'm going to say is how I was motivated, or how I stayed motivated. Preparing to write an exam can be very overwhelming and daunting at the same time if you don't have the right people around you, and if you don't have a system of motivation. So for me, I knew that I needed this thing, and I needed it once. I knew of the pass rate and how it has been very low. And for me as a Christian, I believe the word of God, and that was like my first go-to. I was just prophesying the word of God, saying things to myself, what God has said about me, and the fact that I am not a failure. I will pass this exam. He has given me, every single thing that I need to, succeed, and all of that. Secondly, I had my husband who was always encouraging me. He tried his possible best, to take care of the home while I was busy reading. Because obviously I mentioned, I was reading mornings and even evenings. So, and then working, in the afternoon. So basically, I did not have a life. I did not even have time to prepare anything or take care of the home. So he was actually doing that and encouraging me all the way. So it removed that part of stress. For going to the gyms, another thing for me, it actually helps me disassociate my mind from the world and even from the exam. So I did that consistently. I tried going to the gym like the days that I chose to go, just to make sure that I am also fit, and mentally I'm not too focused on the exam, because that exam can be, preparing for that exam can be very draining. Sometimes I'll put my phone on do not disturb. So basically I was just focusing on the exam, but going out, taking a walk sometimes and going out to the gym actually helps me, get some fresh air. It just gives me a new perspective, and especially when I'm having like a challenge or a block, or I just feel full, like my head is so heavy, I'm tired of reading. I just take a walk and take some fresh air. So that's very necessary if you need to be motivated, and if you have good people around you, friends, family, hold them tight, hold them close when you're preparing for exams like this, because they are going to be necessary. Last question that has come up here is, what were the most challenging topics for you and how were you able to overcome them? So now that's a very big question, because I mean, there were some topics or subject areas that I actually found difficult, and sometimes some topics were just not sinking in, because maybe my knowledge from Nigerian law was just clogging it and making it not to sink. But what I did was to keep on practicing. I kept on reading that area that I had challenge in. I'm gonna just mention some areas that I can remember that actually gave me challenges. I think tax, very important. Some areas of legal services and property practice, and also solicitors accounts. What I did basically was to practice. I kept on reading those things and I kept on practicing, but I did not remove my eyes from the other topics, because I mean, this exam does not have areas of concentration, so you still need to concentrate on every single topic. And what I would advise is not to give your sole attention on just one area simply because you're finding it challenging. I mean, you can give it, just give it some time, practice. You still need to go back to the full subject areas and still practice them. Another thing I believe would help when you're finding any area challenging is for you to actually note them down. And when you're practicing, say your mocks or doing your revisions, try and note them down and set questions for yourself and see how you do with those areas. Maybe tick them and say, okay, this area I'm actually fine, and then go back to studying the full FLK1 and FLK2 subject areas, because you don't want to miss out on other principles of law just because you're focusing on one. Thing I would say is that the exam and the preparation and everything can be so overwhelming. Ask questions and get clarifications whenever you need them. If you'd like to jump on a call with me, there's a link in the description where we can have a chat. So let me know if you're interested, and I'm going to see you on that call. Okay, so these are the questions that have come up. If you guys have any questions, put it in the comment section and I may actually do that video for you guys. So make sure to see the video on how to choose a course provider after now.